So now we go to real estate legal fiction. And it's imperative that we learn what ins legis is, a legal person, legal fiction, and corporation. It's a creature of the law, an artificial being as contrast with a natural person, applied to corporations considered as deriving their existence entirely from the law. So we know a legal fiction is purportedly, or the accusation is this, that a legal fiction is a person without a body in law. And people create these legal fictions in the form of corporations. And another word for corporation is person, and another word for person is legal person. These are all the same words in the legal dictionary. So you see the word person in legal documents, it's talking about a corporation or a company. And the reason why they create these things is so they can draw or take away from being held accountable for things that go wrong. Okay? So if the business does something wrong, you can still be in business as a living being and let the corporation take the blame. And in doing so, it makes the corporation a person. All right, so let's go to the next one. So here we have the birth certificate data that is collected by the state, and then the state takes the birth certificate information and turns it over to the Department of Commerce. Okay? And when they turn it over to the Department of Commerce, they put your documentation into what's called a SEDIK trust, or SEDIK trust. The Department of Commerce takes your information and puts it in to what's called a SEDIK trust. Okay? SEDIK trust. Now, why is this important? Because this is just going to be an analogy for what takes place in real estate. Because before we can even take the time out to say, hey, I want to buy these houses and make all this money, we got to try to figure out what this SEDIK trust is. Because they're using the same form of manipulation against us as a people. All right, so they'll take your name and they'll put it into all capital letters. And in doing so, they're announcing that you are not only a debtor, right? They are also announcing that you are transferable stock. They're also announcing that on a SEDIK trust, what they're saying is you are a beneficiary, but you are also a trustee. And that's very weird, for you to be a trustee and to be a beneficiary at the same exact time. But the one controlling it, being the settler, has a say in what duration of time that you exist in this capacity. They take your name, put it in all caps, construct some more paperwork, an addendum to the contract that was signed in the hospital, making the hospital an agent of the Fed. The Fed is not part of the United States, of course. So they take that name in all caps. It's a confession that you have now been incorporated. And now they've created what's called an assumption, which is a presumption. And this presumption is called the idem sonans. IDEMSONANS. It's called the idem sonans. And the idem sonans represents when letters that make up a name is arranged or altered in such a way that one would be compelled to believe it has something to do with them, and others would be compelled to believe it has something to do with someone else, when in fact it alludes to another reality and just really defers people's attention from the truth. So in this case, if your name was written in lowercase and they put your name in all caps, a presumption just was made called idem sonans. Because if I send you mail and you see those letters in that sequence, you will presume that they are talking to you, when in fact you are responding to something that has been created because it's a legal fiction. That's important, because a great deal of real estate has to do with that, and that's why we wrote the tome, Real Estate or Legal Fiction. Let's go to the next one. That's what takes place in the SEDIK trust. You have the doctrine of parents patriot. Parent of the country is what it means. State sovereignty in the light of legal disability minority. When your parents sign that birth certificate, they're known or rendered a homo commendatus. This means that they had no mental faculty to make good decisions on their own. And in doing so, they become what's called in law a minority. Any legal dictionary, you look up the word minority, it means an adult who thinks like an adolescent or younger. An adult in a child state of mind. Therefore, you need me present when you and another adult decide to get married. You need me present when you and another adult decide to separate. When you and another adult have a problem with your child. Whatever the case is, we're going to take care of you kids. That's what this means. So when the birth certificate is generated and they do that 60K trust, it makes your parents just the guardians until you get to legal age. And thus, you are a minority at that point. Once you don't have no guardian, you acted in your minority, then the state takes control of you. Okay? And that's the doctrine of parents patriot, right there. Okay? And of course, you'll see that in Blood is Thicker Than Water. Very important information in regards to sovereignty and how to diffuse the default by acquiescence construct when it comes to real estate. Go ahead, my brother.
Brother Polight, wouldn't that also mean that when you're in the hospital that you actually gave up the rights to the parent and they awarded the state? Same concept?
That's the same exact concept. That's absolutely true. The second that birth certificate is made and you start signing, yeah, that's my child. That's no. What you're doing is saying that you are mentally incompetent, and I'll watch the child, and they'll watch you watch the child until that child gets of age. But from the time you was born, you was identified as having a mental problem. So you'll never be able to act in your majority, which is to say as an adult. You'll only be able to respond to the world in your minority. So you only had caregivers or guardians. And that's what that 60K trust is. And that's why, if you do the research, you'll see that the state turns your information over to the Department of Commerce. And that's when your name goes in all cap 2 letters, and then they create what's called the 60K trust. I gave you all those terms and those words so you can look it up so you can see I'm not making this up. Okay, somebody had to. Go ahead, my brother.
Is that as well besides minorities or other ethnic groups as well?
Well, you see, when we say minority now, we're not even talking about ethnic groups. We're talking about mental capacity, mental abilities. They have a tendency to use the terms that we are already familiarized with, but have no legal context ascribed to it. So by the time they put it into a legal context, our familiarity with the word is what makes us deviate. So now we go to the next one. And of course, you definitely gonna need to get that status correction book, which is here. This is where it gets real intense. And this is what you need to know before we start going into those properties. This is what you need to know so you can understand why we engage the real estate paradigm from the angle in which we do. And this is what you need to understand. Things you should know on the consumer end of your property purchasing. First of all, we gotta know what a pledge is. A pledge is a formal promise of security for a debt, obligation, conditional interest. Conditional interest is very important there. That's what a pledge is. So you see, when you were born into this world, there was a pledge made on your parents' behalf without giving your parents full disclosure that there would be a bonded promissory note created in the form of a birth certificate which will represent how much money you will make to repair the debt of this nation. And in turn, they made you not only a trustee responsible for the managing of that company, the revenue that you would be generating, the assets accredited to it, you will also be a beneficiary, which is why at a certain age you receive privileges. And anytime you need to get a privilege, you have to bring your birth certificate and your social security. If you want the privilege to drive, you have to bring your birth certificate and your social security. Anytime you need a privilege as a beneficiary of the company, you have to bring those references because you're a beneficiary of the trust. You understand? But now, why is that important? Because a pledge was made. Because like I said, they'll look at it and they create a birth certificate and say, you know what, this person's going to spend over $10 million as a consumer. They're going to buy a property that we know is going to most likely foreclose upon, and they're going to owe like $150,000. Chances are they're going to accumulate $15,000, $20,000 in student loan. I'm telling you, by the time that this person is done living, they would have accumulated this much money for us on the consumer end and on a irresponsible or just less than cognizant end of spending. And that's what the birth certificate represents. It's a promissory note. Okay, it discerns how much you most likely are going to make, and it fluctuates based on your growth. But there's a promise from the time you're born that you're going to make X amount of money based on your parents' educational, political, and social disposition, based on the neighborhood that you live in. They factor all these different things in, and they say you're going to make about this much money for our debt to pay it off. And that's why, because of your position, they still allot you the place of beneficiary. So there's still something they're going to give you in the interim of you accumulating or generating all this revenue. Go ahead.
My concern is when a child is born, it's given a title by the parents. Now, the title would be put also on the record of live birth. Now, the record of live birth doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be birth certificate.
That's right.
Because the birth certificate comes in the mail after, and people anticipate it as a receipt in a certain stance. Now, with that title that you also have on the record of live birth, is all capital letters. Now, is there a differentiation between, as we're thinking it with the sovereignty of using this title, and being registered, but acting in the capacity of it being unregistered or not acting as an employee?
Well, you see, the thing is this. So long as that assumption exists, the ASSUMPSIT, assumpsit. So long as that assumpsit exists, then you can never trust that item sonance. You can never trust when it's in all caps. Because we know that this is a trademark that represents that disposition or that form of execution. So the number one thing that we suggest, if you don't generate certain documents, sometimes in the case of administrative affidavit of specific negative averment, it depends on what the scenario is, where we identify it as an instance of non pro tunc or now for then, which is to simply say, I didn't have knowledge of it then, but I'm not asking for someone to negate the fact that I was ignorant of something, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. However, I'm not saying give me weight because I was ignorant of the law. I'm saying that these things have now been brought to my attention and never have been placed before me. And now that it has been brought to my attention and things have already transpired beyond my cognition, I have the right to revoke this. You see, if you were to get married and you were to get divorced, and then you were to move on to get married again, and the law says if you marry more than one person under American constraint or jurisdiction, that is bigamy to be married to two people, but then you find out that the people that did your divorce didn't do it legally, so it wasn't actually fulfilled. That's not your fault. You didn't say, please forgive me because I'm ignorant, I broke the law by accident. You had no idea of that circumstance. You thought you did everything right. But because of the circumstance, as the circumstances will, or as the circumstances were, it was not done the right way. So now this is an instance of non pro tunc or now for them, because now I'm going to rectify the situation. But you see, when it already took place, I had no cognition of what was going on in the first place. So this is not me asking for a pass based on or predicated upon ignorance. This is me saying on account to the circumstances that were, and now me being brought into cognition, which will be the then. It suffice to say that we have to challenge this or change it or negate it. What we would suggest all the time, we have a goodwill bond, which is part of our status correction, which rectifies what took place or what transpired during that whole birth process. But the ultimate goal is for people that are making children now to do home births and then record the live birth of your child like a deed, put it on an online public registry, send it to 18 different agencies. We have all the prerequisite steps that you would take, and then in the interim of those steps, what you should do. But what you essentially are doing overall is recording the birth of the child like a deed, okay? Because that's exactly what took place with them. And we make the parents as the trustees of the children, of the child that's born, okay? And that's in a sovereign affidavit of nativity. That's what we identify it as. We do a sovereign affidavit of nativity, all right? And what that does is diffuses any presumption of the item sonance, because we are organic, we are alive, we are living, okay? We're flesh, we're not the fiction, we're not a corporate fiction or corpus delicti or a legal fiction or a legal person or entity, all these different synonyms that they have for the same, all right? So that's what you want to watch out for. But the main thing I want to go back to, as far as what took place on the birth certificate and as far as your labor being pledged, okay, to remedy the debt of the state in fear that they was going to lose their sovereignty, is this. What is a pledge? And a pledge is a formal promise, a security for a debt, obligation, conditional interest. This is important. You're making a pledge unbeknown to you, the person just trying to buy this property. There's two different types of deeds, more or less, you're going to be espoused to. And these deeds, you can go around and ask people, they'll help you see you go back and forth. second. The two types of deeds that you will be espoused to would be a bargain and sales deed or a warranty deed. Now, when you purchase a property, those are two main deeds that we're going to see up in here when we buy a property, or what's going to be administered to us, a bargain and sales deed or a warranty deed. Make sure you got that. The problem is now, when you get those deeds, they identify you as something on those deeds. And your disposition in retrospect to the purchase of that property via loan or paid in full is to that of tenancy. And that defers one attention to occupation as opposed to ownership. And I'll say it again. So there's two different types of deeds at work. One or the other. You're either going to get a bargain and sales deed or you're going to get a warranty deed. When you get these deeds, they're going to ID you as, in terms of your disposition in respect to your property that you just acquired purportedly, they'll have you labeled as tenancy, which is very relative to the word tenant. Okay? And this is from an old doctrine that took place called the statute statement or statute merchant, where if you couldn't satisfy the debt, the mayor will come in and become a tenant of the property. All right? But in this particular scenario, you are identified as a tenant of your own property. Now, you done got the wine, you done got the flowers, they said congratulations, how does it feel to be a homeowner, all of that. But when you get that deed, they got you identified as a tenant. That you can't have. What the bank does is perfect their claim. What happens is this, let's go down. There's leverage now. We saw a pledge. Pledge is a formal promise, a security for debt. When we say security, we just identify the fact that there's some collateral. So when I say that you inadvertently pledge something, you inadvertently pledge your property. What do we mean by pledge your property? We mean that you have put up your property as collateral in a contract, saying that if I don't fulfill or meet the criteria of the lender, then I'll suffer the consequence of giving up the property. So you just made your property collateral. But people say, well, that's normal. You know, if you don't pay your bill, then, I mean, what's the big deal? You know, they take the property. I understand it's collateral. Well, what we don't understand is how deep this thing goes, right? So you have leverage, and leverage is what banks use. And banks leverage assets through perfected claims. You have to establish a perfected claim with the property. This is what you need to do. Banks leverage assets through perfected claim, provide credit or funds through speculative ability to seek a high rate of return. This is what banks do. Okay? Banks leverage assets through perfected claims to provide credit or funds through speculative ability to seek a high rate of return. You say, what does all of that mean? What is leverage? Leverage is, I'm going to give you this on the strength, because I believe this $10 thing right here, I believe it has, I'm speculating the ability for one to make money off of this. I say, you know what? I'm going to sell this to you for $10. So I sell this to her for $10, and now she has this here in her hand, and she engages in conversation with somebody else, and a group of people start talking about this one thing here for $10, a group of people. So if this is the bank, this is the asset, and they perfected a claim. How? Well, I'm going to sell this to her. She wants this for $10. This is what I'm selling it for $10. I sell it to her. She just pledged this to me. She just said, you know what? This is the collateral. I give this up if I don't meet your criteria. This is the playing field everyone thinks they're familiar with. But on the other end of things, I'm going to take what she owes me because she don't have all $10. I'm going to take that and use that as leverage to get me into a situation with this person here, because he got something over here that I need for $6. He says, yo, if you got $6, I'll give you this. So I say this, I don't even got no money. You know what I'm doing over here? I ain't got no money. I say, hey, how much money you got? She said, well, I got $8 towards it. You want 10, right? I say, cool, you owe me. Oh, pardon me. She says, I got $1 towards it. She says, hey, I got $1 towards this. I don't got all 10. So I say, you owe me 9, right? So can I tack on some interest? She say, cool. So I'm like, all right, it's gonna be $27 plus. She got, all right, cool. Now we don't realize that's what we're saying, but we say $27 plus. So now I'm like, okay, I only got the note, which is a debt obligation. I only got the paperwork that confirms that she owes me $27. I'm gonna use what she owes me on paper as real money. I'm gonna leverage the debt. And I'm gonna have a conversation with him and say, well, I got $7 right here because this is made up of 27 and a promise. And he's sophisticated like this, so he's gonna say, oh, so we good money, but I just need a little interest too. So I'm bargaining with him. I'm using the debt to fund that endeavor. And at this point, the process of me doing this is called leverage. But now what this is called is hypothecation. That takes us to the next term. This is hypothecation. Hypothecation is when you can use debt as an asset. I can use what somebody owes, so long as it's on contract. I can use what she owes me to spend. I didn't even get paid yet. I didn't even get the money yet. She just promised me she could get this money. So I take this and say, you know what? Thank you. You only had $1. This is $27 that you now owe me. Yes, cool. Sign to it. Boom. This is my leverage. This is my bargaining tool now. So he comes here. I ain't got no money the whole time. But now I found a way to make money. I'm saying, look, I just got a promise of $27. Now, she gave me $1, but shit, what if I get 26 more? How about that? He says, man, you might get $26? Let me might get $12 from you out of that, might get $27. Now you see, this is all fraud. And this is why we stop foreclosures. Why? Because this means that she takes this, right? Take it. When she takes this from me, she has a conditional interest. That's what that's called. What is a conditional interest? We learned in UCC 9-105 in parentheses D that a debtor can only conditionally own, meaning they can never completely own, which means what? She's just a tenant of her own property. She's just managing the property. She may feel like she owns it if she's uneducated in this matter. She may even say, this is my can. But it's not her can. Oh no, she pledged this. Now I'm gonna show you how much more deeper this gets. There's the escrow agent now, or there's the attorney, the real estate attorney. He's real deep. He creates an escrow account for this. I gotta explain to you why this got tripled, why the value of this can got tripled, or just about tripled, or why the debt got tripled. This was a $10 can. I sold to her for $1 based on a promise that she will return 3 times the favor. So she only had $1 for this $10 can. I wrote her a contract saying that you can hold this can, but if things don't go right, you have to give up this can. She said, cool. But what we didn't realize is this. In order for me to give her this can, she has to be approved for a loan. That's how it works. She needs $10 to get this can. She didn't have $10. She only has $1. That's the down payment. But the only way I'm going to trust her with this can is if this can is actually paid for. This is where the confusion comes in. Because if this can is actually paid for, then she should own it. So why is she even pledging it and using it as collateral? That is the question. Now let's make this can a house. They say the house is $200,000. You know damn well the house ain't $200,000, but hey, you say, so what do I have to have this house? They said, man, you put $10,000 down. You say, I don't got 10,000. Yeah, you got 5? Like, yeah, I got 5. Put $5,000 down. We can get you this house. But we gotta get you approved for a loan. What is the loan for? The loan is for $200,000. You can't get the house unless someone gave you $200,000. That's how this works, you know. What is the big problem with the situation? She never see the $200,000 that she was approved of. When you had a student loan, you got the money. And you bought a few sneakers you wasn't supposed to buy, a few shirts you wasn't supposed to buy, but you got the money. When you bought the house, you never saw the money, but you was approved for the loan. So who the hell's holding the money? This is the question. If you get approved for a $200,000 house and you only have $5,000, $10,000, how the hell do they trust you with the house? They trust you with the house because the house was paid for, because you got approved for the loan. Somebody approved you for the loan. The bank didn't do it. The bank applied on your behalf because of the slick contract they gave you. The bank applied for the loan and you got approved of it. But they saw to it that the money never went to you so they can keep being paid. So here it is, you got the $200,000. It should have went in your hand so you can pay for the house and then it'd be free and clear of all encumbrances. And you just deal with one person as it relates to the purchase of that property, just one entity. But instead, you never got the money. This is called hypothecation. This is called hypothecation. And this is a conditional interest. So now, yo, I'm gonna give you this house that costs $200,000, but there's a condition. But they don't say that to you, do they? They don't say, you know what, you got approved for the loan and someone gave you all $200,000. And they give it to you and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna keep $50,000, I'm gonna pay them $150. None of that took place. So the money, the real estate attorney now takes this money, right? First of all, there's an underwriter, he does his thing. So he approves this whole situation now. Because this house is not gonna be sold unless the underwriter gets a hold of that and says, yo, this thing is free and clear. You got it. The money now travels, and while it's en route to you, real estate attorney comes in, let me stop that. Hold on. We're going to put this in an account just to keep it safe from the person who got approved of the loan. And this gets held in escrow for $200,000. But guess what we got to do? Which is the funny part. We're going to actually have to charge you because we're holding all this money right now. Guess what the bank got to do? The bank got to charge you too, because we the ones that helped you get approved. So the bank helped you get the money, though it never came to you, and someone's nice enough to hold the money to you while it was en route to you, and the bank is going to charge you because they helped you get the loan, and the attorney is going to charge you because they have to hold the loan. Everybody's going to make money now. What's this called? Well, the attorney's going to do what's called a HUD-1. Housing and Urban Development. They're going to fill out a statement called a HUD-1, and they're going to go through an itemization of everything that they have to charge you in order to facilitate this process. This is an explanation for why we didn't give you the money that you was approved of to get the house. But we have to give somebody the house because someone was approved for the loan. So what we're going to do is make you a debtor. And what we're going to do is make ourselves the creditor. So what the bank does is this. I'm going to get you approved for the loan, and we're not going to hold the loan money, because then that'll be illegal. We're going to make sure the loan money gets held in an escrow. Because when you did this contract with me, you say you didn't mind being approved of a loan that you won't get the money for. So long as you got the actual property. And now UCC 9-105 in parentheses lowercase d is relevant because now you are a debtor. They say we're the creditor. So we're going to charge you interest based on the loan that you get approved of, even though it's not being sent to you. But the guy that's holding the money also has to charge you. So now what's going to happen is you'll find your mortgage will get multiplied by 3. You say, how come my mortgage got multiplied by 2 times more or 3 times more? So all you did, you had a conditional interest, and that's what it says in UCC 9-105D. It says that a debtor can only conditionally own. So here it is. You can hold this under this condition. That if things don't work out, we can just take this back. You never saw the money that was used to keep this. So therefore, you're not even entitled to this because you never officially finished the transaction. So now when you try to fight for your property, they say it's foreclosure, you're going through a foreclosure, you got to go through 10, 12, 15 different names. Why? Rehypothecation. Remember, hypothecation, in short, without going to the crazy terminology, is just being able to use debt to fund an endeavor, an investment endeavor. Leverage is just the ability to have the conversation about the debt. The pledge is a formal promise that when the debt thing starts, I'm in compliance with it all. See how that works? So we're going to go to rehypothecation. Let's go to the next one. This is where it gets crazy. This is where it really gets nuts. So now you have the mortgage note right there. That's the promise that someone's going to pay. Then you got the commercial bank, let's say PNC or somebody. But the commercial bank is servicing these loans for an investment bank because they don't have the capital to wait no 30 years for a mortgage. They don't have the capital to wait for a modified loan that gets reduced to 15 years. They don't have the capital. We don't even have real money. We don't even have gold and silver. So what are we going to do with the situation? Well, they say to the investment bank, well, you know what? We can get a bunch of people in debt and we can accumulate a bunch of these promises. I can accumulate $1 billion in these promises. Would you let me keep at least a $250 million? If I can get $1 billion in promises to make money, will you give it to me? Say, yeah, but how you going to do it? Well, we're not going to do it the old-fashioned way with the prime brokerage. We're going to do subprimes. What's that? We're going to extend loans to people who can't afford them. We're going to do the analytics and we're going to be able to know that this person cannot afford a $150,000 house. They can afford a $50,000 house. So damn it, let's give them the $150,000 house. That's called subprime. You don't have the credit to be approved for it, but we're going to approve it. Even if the bank has to pay for all your other debts. We're going to get you approved for this. We're going to fix your credit. The bank will even fix your credit for 24, 48 hours. Just so you can be approved of that loan. They will pay your debt. But they know based on analytics you can't pay. So who the hell is going to pay? Who the hell is going to allow someone to get a $200,000 debt that can't pay for a $10,000 debt? So long as there's an underwriter, a surety, so long as there's an insurance company that says, you know what, we'll pay it if that person doesn't pay it, but we got to make a little profit. Now this is all confusing because the whole time now, she's the reason why everyone's going to eat. So that's why it says the house that will make everyone rich, with the exception of the owner. This is the house that's going to make everyone rich. Because remember, hypothecation was the ability to take that one mortgage note and use it as leverage to get into a conversation to fund another investment endeavor. They're using this note, the promise. Because we know this promise is insured because someone says, I'll pay for it. But guess why they can make this promise? Because it's an actual real house behind it. This is the gold. This is the silver. And guess what? The reason why they could do this is because when she made the agreement, she said, I never really owned this property under no condition. I just occupy it. Why? Because she's identified as tenancy on her own deed. And everybody that's buying property right now is considered a tenant under their own deed. So they can turn around and actually use your promise as worth something because the promise is backed by a real house that they still have in their possession when they sold it to you. You just living in it, but it's still in their possession.
You're a glorified renter.
Because you're still paying rent.
You're a glorified renter.
That's right.
But how could you own it if you didn't pay back the money that you purchased?
Well, you see, that's the thing. You should have owned it, but you never allowed the money to completely come to you.
But that's the line of credit, though. When the money comes straight to you, the difference between a line of credit and a mortgage, you get the money straight to you when it's a line of credit. Then you can pay anybody you want. But when it's a mortgage, don't you send it straight to the person that you're buying it off of?
Not these days, brother. It's a fucks passing law. It's a de facto system. When you read the instrument, when you read the contract, when you read the deed, So long as they have you as tenancy on the deed, all the things that make sense go out the window because it's called hypothecation. And if somebody would have just taught us these 3 words before buying, which is what? Leverage, pledge, and hypothecation. If we would have been taught those 3 words, we would have understood anything they ever told us about a mortgage or a loan. Doesn't make no sense. It's obsolete. It's null and void. It's void ab initio. Once we dealing with hypothecation, it's done. Once there's any kind of I owe you, it's done once we dealing with that hypothecation. It's done because they already knew from the time that they was going to issue that note to you, they was already selling the note. And that's why you ask the average person, and I mean corporation, ask the average bank that sold you a house, where's the original note? They don't even have it. They already used it as leverage, and it went to him, and it went to her, and it went to him, and it went to her. They don't have the original note. We was able to stop most foreclosures just asking, where's the original note? Because you had a conditional interest. Now, they're meaning this. They never told you when they were selling you the property, they intended on selling it to someone else while you believe you still own it. That's against the law. So, and this is another thing. If they sold you the property, right, and they claim that it's theirs to foreclose upon, show me the contract. You know why they can't show you the contract? They already sold it to someone else. If they can't show you the contract, then guess what happens? Then they can't prove their point. It's still your property.
Yeah, but if I'm a lender,
that's right.
If I'm a lender and I'm giving you the money, yeah, I'm not saying you own nothing either until you pay me my money.
That's absolutely true. But you pledge the property. The person that you lending the money pledged the property. Let's do it like this. You lending me some money. Let's pick an object, a book in here. You're lending me money to buy that book, right? Everybody understands that. And you saying, bro, call that book all you want, pay me all my money, then that book is yours. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. This is a problem. When you do this, you're lending me the money, right? But instead of me being able to fulfill this transaction based on you getting the money, it's the way you went about getting the money to lend it to me, which causes an implication on me that you didn't even tell me about. So one thing you like, look, boom, here's the money so you can purchase this book. But let's think about it. Let's think about it. The brother comes here and says, hey, hold this book, brother. You want to sell me this book, right? So tell me this. You say the book is how much money?
$30.
$30 for the book, right? Now, I want to buy the book, right? Now, let's figure this out. What if everybody that wanted to sell me a book like this brother says, yo, what if I tell you I don't got the $30? Are you going to come out your pocket and give me the $30 and loan me so you can pay me back? This is how it almost seems like what the bank is doing. The bank almost seems nice enough. Yo, we want to sell you this property. Yo, you ain't got the money? Yo, we got you. They're not doing that. The bank is not doing that. They're playing a game here. The bank don't even have the capital to do that. So they got to sign into some weird-ass contract to get that. Because they got to still make sure they can make money off of this situation. As is, he got to make money. So you know what he do? He do the nigga thing. That's what I'm telling you. People say, oh, white people, business is better than black people. White people are the biggest niggas on planet Earth. They're the original niggas. So now what happened is, he turns around and says, yo, let me see if I can borrow $60 over here so I can get him going. Yo, and then what he gonna do here, I'm gonna borrow $60 from you. But guess what? Yo, my man over here is gonna buy the book for $30. But you see what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna finance this agreement. So I'm gonna borrow $60 from you, feel me? And what I'm gonna do with him is tell him, give me back $90. That's what I'm gonna do. So now I can come back and give you back $35. And then he might not even tell you what he doing. All you know, you just want him to pay you back at a certain time. So now he do this, he get the money from you. He gets you to say, yo, here's $10 towards it. Now he got the contract, and he come back to you and say, yo, I got the promise that they're gonna pay. And somebody made the promise legal now. Somebody made it where the promise can be used as real money. He is no way in hell gonna come out his pocket to extend a loan to somebody for a product that he wants him to buy. He's never gonna do that. That just wouldn't be good business. That just wouldn't be smart. So he has to he has to have a scenario already set up. In fact, what we really find out is that he's only servicing the loans. No money's coming from him. He's making his money from the debts. What he's doing is saying, I work for her. She's the investment bank. So she's over here saying this. The investment bank is sitting here and saying, yo, you know what? All you have to do is accumulate enough debt because we got a nice little situation here where we're going to take that debt and we're going to create a legal fiction. We're going to create a company and break it up into shares. And we're going to let the people know that these bonds are insured. They can be indemnified. So therefore, they know that it's a very low risk situation.
Wow.
But now, this is where the big part comes in. There's a domestic and an international interest. That's what we got to go into. That's why we say that now the property represents a security and rehypothecation. The security is posted with a prime mortgage as collateral with or because of a hedge fund. That's what's taking place. The mortgage, this property right here, is the actual note is represented as a security posted with a prime mortgage as collateral by way of a hedge fund. Now we know security represents that there's an agreement that if I don't pay, I give up the object. That's why it's called a security. There's collateral inclusive. The prime mortgage is a company that is set up very sophisticated with give you financial advice, extend loans, establish leverage in ways that others can't. That's the prime brokerage. I put mortgage. It's really prime brokerage. That's what the prime brokerage does. The hedge fund now just represents a basket of assets that can be solicited for sale and purchase and all sorts of sophisticated things, but they throw your property inside of that basket. That's the hedge fund. So we find that this property, in the form of the mortgage note, represents a security posted by a prime brokerage as collateral with a hedge fund. So this means they're taking your contract and combining it with other assets and putting it out there for sale. Meanwhile, you're sitting in here thinking this is your house. But you see, there's a thing that takes place that we don't realize. Let's go to the next one. This is where it gets real interesting. This is where it's most important that we got to catch up with. This is the same note. You see, that house is in color for a reason. That's the same house, but it's in black and white. No, mortgage, mort, death, gauge, pledge or agreement. You made a pledge of our knowing. And mort means death. Okay, this agreement is going to perpetuate itself forever. Okay, you have what's called insecurities, debt deficit, and net equity. This is what we got to really get into to really figure this out. Now, what happens is this. With hypothecation, you can use the debt at least once to get you into another investment. Everybody walking with me? You can use that debt at least once. You can use that note and say, yo, this person owes me $100,000. I want to buy that thing for $80,000. So banks are doing that. That's called hypothecation. Rehypothecation is the ability to use the same promise for $100,000 and to buy something yet again for another $100,000 or $80,000. The same promise. How the hell could that be true? Well, you see, in America, they have a limit. You can only take 140% of the debt deficit to make your money. Okay, so let's say the insecurities was $1,000. And let's say the net equity is $600. Then the debt deficit would be $400. Okay, which would make, according to American law, the companies here will only be able to take as much as $480 from the insecurity. That's based on 140% margin. What happens is in London and UK, internationally, they don't have a limit for how much you can take from the debt, which means that you can keep using it over and over. So what they do, in a hedge fund, they use the hedge fund to get away with this crime. What they do, they'll put your mortgage note in a hedge fund for international commerce, not domestic. Because in London, you can recycle this over and over and over. So all we have to do is get you to get into this agreement once. And I'll be using this mortgage note over and over again to keep investing. Over and over and over and over again. I'll use that same one note that's worth $100,000 and it'll be used again. I'll sell it to somebody else and they'll be able to use it. If they can sell it to somebody else, they'll be able to use it as leverage. And if they can sell it to somebody else, they too will also be able to use it as leverage. So this thing breaks the physics of mortgage. So basically this thing gets sold and whoever purchases it can use it again. And then if they can sell it again, whoever purchases it can use it again. So it's put into a hedge fund, not for domestic, but for international commerce. And in which case, this note is gone, long gone. Meanwhile, you still here in America, stressed out because they're about to foreclose on a property that money is still being made from. And it's probably in China by now. Same thing happened with your birth certificate. But this is being sold everywhere. And this is called rehypothecation. And these are words that they never will show you. And if you even learn these words, you probably have to pay $50,000 or more for the education behind it. You're not going to learn this in no high school, no junior high, even though everyone's supposed to have a place to live. Why wouldn't they teach real estate in school? Don't we all need a place to live? It's the last thing they're going to teach us in public school. You would think this is priority. And if you do go to school for this, you're going to have to pay big money to learn some of it. Well, even, is Brother John here? Even Brother Barry, you can stand real quick? Even Brother Barry right there. Who used to work for? The City Mortgage. And you was an underwriter for them, right? Yeah. Is this all wise writing this out?
Exactly, man. Amazing. Yeah, you're right on point. Exactly what he's saying about the acquisition, the hedge funds, all that. Exactly. Yeah.
And you know, I met him just through him reading the books. When I was talking about the prisons being used as mortgage-backed securities. They're incarcerating people to back up failed mortgages. So for everyone that gets locked up, they represent the pain of someone's unfulfilled mortgage. Because the prisoners they sign bid bonds, performance bond, and they sign bid bonds, performance bonds, and payment bonds. And they consolidate those bonds. A bond is a debt obligation. This is how you know you're being sued when you go into court. Because why do you have a bond? A debt obligation. Why do you have to pay someone? Why sentencing? Why you got to sign a bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond? They consolidate those three bonds and turn them into an MBS, a mortgage-backed security. That's why the prisoner's number is an account number that the CCA, Corrections Corporation of America, uses to identify themselves as a surety on your behalf to indemnify the bonds. So you're working for free in there, but you're not technically you're not working for free. Money is being made, but the checks are being cut to someone else. So even if you out there doing public service, just cleaning the grass, because this is part of your agreement, they would have paid someone to do that, and they are paying you to do it. You just never see the check, and it accumulates, and they allocate those funds towards an unpaid mortgage. Towards an unpaid mortgage. These are the very first things that you need to learn when it comes to paying for a house.
Question. Now, if you're buying this property outright, you're not dealing with overpaying interest, though, correct?
Say it again? If
you're buying this home outright, in the beginning you said any way that you receive the deed, even if it's through a mortgage or paying cash,
you're still going to have the same disposition unless you perfect the claim. Perfect the claim. And the way you're going to perfect the claim is by doing a UCC-1, financing statement. The reason why you want to perfect the claim is because you want to diffuse the presumption of the item sonins, and you don't want to be identified as a debtor under those classifications, because then you only own with a conditional interest, and that is outlined in UCC 9-105D. So what you want to do is make sure that when you acquire, you see there was a term that used to be used in real estate called fee simple. And fee simple meant that you own that property without a conditional interest. That's what fee simple meant. You own the property without a conditional interest.
Like a land patent.
Huh?
Like a land patent.
That's right. Like a land patent. And when a country owns on that scale, they would have generated an allodial title. When you own on that scale, you have perfected the claim, thus establish a fee simple relationship, and they will identify the property as an actual crown. Land of the crown is what they will call it. The property obviously be identified as a crown, because at that point you're actually sovereign in law, because you have a jurisdiction. You have something that, based on what has been written in the collateral box on your behalf, okay, the relationship with the creditor and debtor has been established, and the provisions that you put there in the commercial agreement or security agreement in respect to what's in the collateral box that'd be the law that we have to follow. When we look at the law, Yick-Wo versus Hopkins, we see that sovereignty is not subject to law, but it's the author and source of law. If there was a question about ownership of that property, or someone violating the criteria to which in that property exists, what we will find is this. We will find that we will have to go to the author and source of the law of the land. You will be the author because now you will be setting the constraints yourself in that commercial agreement, in that UCC1. And you will be the source from which the law derives. So we will have to read your paperwork and see what are the provisions or what are the laws of this particular land. And in doing so, you will be identified as sovereign or king, because now you will actually have a jurisdiction, okay? And a jurisdiction is spoken in juris is legal or lawful. So what is being lawfully said? Well, you can only lawfully say or have a say in something if you truly own it in fullest capacity as possible, which is why you have to perfect the claim. So what the banks are doing, from the time you purchase the property, however way you do it, that purchase runs concurrent with a lien that they have established by way of hypothecation. Here it is, you buying a property that simultaneously has a lien, but not just a lien, it gives access to many other investors at the same time. You figure, I'm in business with you, so I'm signing this contract and I'm dealing with the rules of engagement as it relates to this brother selling the property to me. Unbeknown to me, this agreement is with me, him, and people overseas. I didn't even know so many people had their hands in this property, because if I did, I would not even touch it. I didn't even know that my debt would be converted into an asset which would be used as leverage for the investment endeavors and goals of other people that would be selling the people short. Meanwhile, everyone else is making all this money, even at the end of my demise. Even upon my foreclosure, the original note is still out there being sold. And I'm looking for some money to remedy the debt. And y'all making money off the damn debt and can't send me nothing. And if you send me anything, I'm gonna have to pay all this interest. So this is criminal. So the purpose of doing this information or engaging this information is to first of all just see what is taking place, so you realize it's not even worth buying it that way. Because I know how it is out here. We say, man, they're about to give me a $180,000 house under these conditions. I'm with it. But if you understood the conditions behind the way they were giving you the property, and if you knew how much people had their hands in it, you wouldn't even want to do it. Not even a greedy man, not even a nonsensical decision-making person would do it. If they understood the implications behind it, if they even understood that if they get in a situation, no one's going to give them money. But because of the situation, everyone's making money. You just can't access it. Because the way you bought it, you never had access to the first money in the first place. But you was charged for it in the HUD 1. And they even gave you a good faith estimate to make you feel good. They even turn around and say, you know what? This is what it should cost you after all the charges. And if you see a discrepancy, then talk to us and you can petition to get the charges lower. But that's corny, man. That's not what this is about.
You know, I understand that, but my question to you was, what you're saying is, unless I'm missing it, I keep interpreting it as if you obtain a mortgage. If I bought that $180,000 house for $180,000,
yes,
you're telling me that the debt is still there behind.
That's right. You don't own it.
Okay.
You still don't own the property even if you pay for it in full. Because when you look on that deed is going to say tenancy.
But how do you combat that after the fact? It seems like it would have to be something that you would have to do before you grab it.
That's right. That's called status correction.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
That's what it's called. Status correction.
But what I'm saying is, so suppose when you come to me, I'm like, listen, man, I ain't going to do all that, man. You want to do it this way, the way the United States recognizes it, or we ain't going to do it.
Well, you see, that's a very good comment. The United States does recognize it this way. But you see, the reason why we wouldn't recognize it that way, because we haven't been educated in how to conduct commerce or execute commercially in a disposition of a country. You see, in order for us to do this the right way, we would have to do business like we are a country as an individual, or like we are a big-time company as an individual. We're purchasing like debtors. The only reason the creditor exists is because of the debtor. The debtor gives birth to the creditor. So in order for this system to work, we have to oblige to it. If we don't oblige to it, then the system will become the debtor. and we become the creditor if they engage. But that's based on a status correction. We're purchasing under this system. This is not telling you to go against the American system. This is the international way to conduct business. But on a regular 14th Amendment citizenship concept, you can't obtain an asset unless you engage in debt. That's what debt wealth is all about. Okay, debt wealth is about, you want an education, everyone needs one. You owe me $30,000. You want a house, everyone needs one. You owe me $200,000. You want health care, dentist work, in case you get a crash, give me $30,000. Or let me take portions out your check for the rest of your life. So it's a debt wealth society. You ain't getting nothing from me unless you turn around and say you openly, willingly, and admittedly want to come into debt, consciously and unconsciously. Now, when you get from thinking like that, and you start coming to the secure party creditor paradigm, then you realize you don't have to subject yourself to that. Now, some people is going to have their trickology, and you just move from them. But UCC is used international. UCC, even when you insure the property, we teach you to insure the property with American Title Trust or Gladiator Trust. Those are UCC companies where you insure your properties. Those are UCC companies. So UCC is not American, but it's uniform as it relates to how the rules of engagement in commerce world over. People in other places or other parts of the world who have this knowledge are using it the same way to establish perfected claims on their property, so they don't have to be subject to this illegal, atrocious paradigm to spending. Because we lose the second that, it's like buying a property and driving off the car lot, the value goes completely down. The second we drive off the lot. But it's like, yo, you know what, we still gonna buy the car. Like, when do you get a chance to pay for something that appraises for more when you leave with it? That's the creditor. When a debtor buys something, it loses value the second they purchase it. When a creditor purchases something, it has speculative ability. We went over that term earlier. When a creditor purchases something, it has speculative ability. It can be used as leverage into agreement. It can be resold even though it was bought. That's the paradigm of the creditor. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, Brother Polight, I just wanted to qualify what you were saying. There's certain financial shows that come on TV.
Yes.
Those same companies that you talk about.
Yes.
For years, they do this all the time. It's nothing new. But a person like you, we need that in our community, so we know how to do it. They've been doing this. So for the people who think you just maybe started this on your own, or like you made it up.
This been going on. That's right.
Like, it's real. Like, so I commend you on your efforts and on all your studying, Brian. I'm glad you're here to tell us this, but it's been going on forever, and they've been capitalizing off of us forever. Now it's time for us to capitalize off ourselves.
That's
like
real talk, man.
Saying,
Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next one. And this stuff is deep. So that's why I was just talking about the land actually becomes a crown in law. The land actually becomes a crown. And you get rid of that whole foreclosure, home for sale concept that they be pushing on you. Let's go to the next one. And we talked about the trust. And of course, you get your status correction, and then you get your NC6, your new covenant, sovereign, and revocable private trust. And of course, we got the book Trust Me that explains that information. Let's go to the next one. Now. Okay, so we go into how to research and purchase land and houses for little to nothing and sell it for thousands. Let's go to the next one. Of course, that's the logo. I just wanted to make sure we went through that information. It's very important because that information gives you the incentive to engage the way that we're telling you to engage, because you understand the implications behind the purchase from the time you make the purchase. Yeah, you can press it. That. All right. Get this thing going. Let's go. All right. So again, this is the part 2. This is the follow-up. We had to go through that information. Let's go to the next one. We went over this before. The due diligence is an investigation or audit of potential investment. Material facts determined in this process. Of course, you see this information in buy the house, sign the contract, protect the asset book. You'll also find this information in Introduction to the Tax Lien, Tax Deed. Actually, all right, so you have it. You have this right here, parcel ID. Parcel ID is synonymous with the terms block and lot, and it identifies an individual piece of property as to its ownership, assets value, exemptions, and tax amount. So when you're looking up property, first thing you want to do is find that parcel ID, okay, which is also identified as block and lot number. Then you'll go to the county government, you go to their office, you tell you just trying to investigate a property, and there'll be a computer right there, and you can plug in those numbers, and you can get the general information about that property that you need to know. Or you can pay somebody a great deal of money to do this, you know, and all they're going to do is type in those numbers and get a printout and then forward it to whoever it is that they have doing the research. Number one, if you don't know that, then it's just obsolete. You want to get your research on. You want to get a feel for this. So even if you're hiring somebody to help do the research, don't be in the dark. You understand what I'm saying? Get some information. Maybe double check whatever they're telling you with somebody else. You understand? Because the big part of real estate where people lose the most money is because the people investing have so little information. So you can pretty much be told anything at that point. Yeah, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good?
Yep.
Great. So now we have assets value. Assets value is the dollar value assigned to a property for the purpose of measuring applicable taxes. This amount is usually 20% of the market value, and it includes overall quality of the neighborhood. I'm going to run through these parts. I wanted to revisit it, but we have this in part 1 of the DVD when we did actually here in Philly. This is part 2. But I just wanted to engage this for people that wasn't here, because I see a lot of people that wasn't here prior. So this is actually in part 1 for how to buy the properties for thousands of dollars for little to nothing. All right, so market value, market capitalization, plus the market value of debt, also coined as the theoretical highest price of a buyer, willing but not compelled to buy, would pay. The lowest price of selling will take place, not compelled to sell or would accept. Equalization board determines the fairness of taxes levied against properties. Equalization ratio, a ratio of total assets value for properties in a community to those properties' true market values. This number represents the state or locality's judgment on how closely assets values match the market value. For example, an equalization rate of 90% would mean that, on average, the property in a community is being assessed at 90% of its market value. This data is on part 1. However, it's imperative that you realize how important the equalization ratio is. As we discussed before, if you were to go into the county clerk or the county government and you say, hey, I'm doing some research on this property, I hear you got some sales coming up, or I'm trying to figure out what's going on in this neighborhood. If you just, can I get the parcel number? You get some respect, but it's conventional. When you say, can I get the equalization ratio, they take you a whole lot more serious. Because that's not a question people ask. And that's a question people should ask. So you need that question. You need to ask for the equalization ratio. When you ask for the equalization ratio of the property, they're going to look at you and they're going to give you a whole lot more, and they're going to be more attentive, because they're going to say, this person knows something, somebody sent them, maybe they're inspecting us, trying to figure us out, you know, but this is not the regular brother or sister coming in here. You actually doing some serious research. You need to get that equalization ratio, because it's fundamental to your research, okay? And always keep in mind that the books work as satellites to this information. So what you don't hear now is complemented in the publications. If we miss something, I'm more than sure it is complemented by way of the tome. So that's how we try to do it. What we didn't emphasize in the publications is what I try to bring to the class to try to give it a full spectrum, okay? Because you'll write it and then you'll be like, oh man, this would have been good information to put out there. Or, you know, in addition to what's written, we can also expound on this to try to give you as much information as possible so you can get it in without spending the $70,000 it takes to become a real estate agent or what have you, and to only get part of the information but not exactly what you need to get through this, okay? Because don't assume that they know all this information. They know part of the information, and that's good, and they can be used, if they're accessible, they can be used to learn more. I never undermine people who already know. They always can teach us something. But as far as the full spectrum of things, as far as the perfected claim, the default by acquiescence, and all that information that we've been teaching, it's not the criteria of that curriculum to expound on these things to that extent, because even the person going to school to learn this information is still considered a consumer at the end of the day. They're not going to feed them all that information. Some things are better learned just from experience, trial, error, and just talking to people mouth to ear. You get more information from that if you're in the right circles. Okay? So, neighborhood evaluation key. This is what we use. You want to have a grade for how you researching your properties. So give it a 1, and that means very bad area that is unsafe. It has many undesirable, dilapidated homes and/or industrial and commercial buildings, high crime, poor location. Number 2, transitional area that is deteriorating with a large number of vacant, boarded up homes or vacant commercial and industrial areas that are unstable with short-term tenants with many vacant buildings showing boarded up structures plus graffiti or leveled lots. 2.5. For an area that has less deterioration than a 2 with almost no buildings boarded up, general area block is what an average moderate to medium income family would live in. You may say, I'm never buying 1 or 2s, I'm staying away 2, 3s. What we don't realize is what most of us live in is 1 and 2s. So I ain't trying to sell nothing. People try and move over here and live here. People still need some place to live. Okay, so it depends on what you're trying to make, who's your target audience, what you're trying to accomplish. All right? So don't sell yourself short. Oftentimes when people say, in general, what is it that I would be interested in if I was trying to sell a property? And I say, I don't even know who you are. So you got to tell me some more. They say, well, I'm just trying to sell a property. What is the easiest property you find to sell that you're interested in? So I'll say, from my personal experience, I would say single-family residential homes that are not nearby water. Those are good. Properties with code 16 tell you that it's nearby water. You don't want to deal with it unless you understand the insurance provisions of that area. Most times insurance doesn't cover water damages where there's water. Most times insurance covers water damages where there's no water. You got to watch how this game gets played. Okay, so you'll buy a property, and educated consumers will say, I know what I'm getting into if I buy a property by the water. You want single-family residential properties because single-family residential properties sell quicker than 2-family, 3-family houses. So if you want to get a quick flip, you try to get you a single-family residential, not by water, with a highly competitive school district, highly reputable school district. So what you'll do, you'll go to the local chambers of commerce, and you say, I would like a rundown of all the highly reputable zip codes you have in this community. And you'll start getting the demographic of the community. You'll understand what the crime rate is about, like in that community. You'll understand what the school districts are. And why you want to know where the schools are at, because when there's highly competitive schools, highly reputable schools, people tend to move into those neighborhoods. And with the comparables, you might want to go to the assessor's office to study the comparables. The comparables are the properties that are in or around the property you want to invest in. You want to study what are the taxes like with all the properties around that property. Because you may be able to get the taxes lowered or deferred based on the adjustments that have been made to taxation in that community. There might be an implication on your property because a presumption being made that since all the taxes are this high for those properties, we might as well tax this property this high. You as an educated consumer have to go in there to see if you're being overtaxed for your property. This is not what they would call Moorish law. Not that I'm against people who call their studies Moorish law. I'm just saying this is not the black man rendition to studying the law. This is just business. This is universal. You know, you want to study what other people are paying for taxes around the property you're interested in, because there may have been upgrades around several properties, not inclusive of yours, but your property may have been heightened in taxes as though you had the same upgrades. So you go to the assessor's office to find out, is this property being overtaxed? You don't want to pay and then find out you've been paying too much and go through the rest. You don't want to be paying too much and never know that you're paying too much. Go to the assessor's office and find out, what are the taxes supposed to be out? Freedom of Information Act, they're going to give it to you. You got the right to know where everybody's paying in taxes next to you if you're planning on investing in a property in that community or you actually already live there. Okay? So you want to go to the assessor's office for that. We discussed the local chambers of commerce. You want to go to the county surveyor and get a sketch of the land. What if the property is built on top of a former gasoline station and the soil compromises the land? What if you buying a property that's not good to be resold? That takes place too. You buy a property, look real good, and then you'll find out the zoning rules say you can't only build but so high, or you can't even sell it back unless under certain conditions or stipulations. So you want to go to the county surveyor and get some information on the land. You also want to find out what is this land going to look like 5 years from now. Sometimes I invest in a property because I'm thinking about what the area is going to look like 5 years from now. Because they might be building the mall 5 years later, which means that the equity is going to go up. Right now, the property being sold cheap. No one has a vision for it. But you can find out who's going to invest in that property, if anybody, 5, 10 years down the line. Would it be worth investing in it now? Yeah, it's cheaper now. Buy it now and just wait it out. Have patient money. That's where the real investments are at. Having patience. So you want to get that demographic sketch. You want to find out who may invest in it years to come. You want to do it just like that and say, you know what, I'm putting some money out here now, but you know what, it's worth waiting 18 years from now. Because guess what, 18 years from now comes very fast. And 18 years from now, you'll be thinking about 18 years ago and saying, I should have put that money up. I had that money. But now there's all the properties over here since the stadium came in the community that went up to 8 times their amount. And people are trying to buy it out as soon as possible so they can create these stores or whatever. I buy empty lots in areas where I know they're going to be building there 8 years from now. Because I know the lot, based on the zoning rules, is in the way of what they want to build. They're going to purchase it from. It's just like the internet. Internet is real estate. A URL is real estate. You say a website is real estate? Yes. I purchase names for websites all the time. Why? Because there's times where somebody comes up, big time companies, mediocre sized companies, they turn around and say, our name is AML.com. But guess what? They try to find the URL, and someone like me purchased it. They looking for the website. There's not even a website. I just bought the name for $2. I just took it, kept it. Why? Because if they really serious about their business, they're gonna pay. If you were to pay for a 2chains.com website, then when 2 Chainz blows up, he can't have the 2chains.com. He gotta have 2 chains. You see what I'm saying? So he better have 2,000. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you want to make sure. You want to make sure that, because you might want to do that. You might want to just invest in a couple names that you think of that's not used, because it could become something. Just sit on it. It don't cost much. Just buy a couple of them and leave it there. The internet is real estate. Somebody's going to want to buy that to build around that name or thing. It don't cost nothing.
What are you saying, buy a URL? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, well, you know, you set up a site and buy several domains.
GoDaddy.com.
Yeah, just go in. Just go in. And just think of names and just put them up there and save them. Don't even build no site. Just keep them. I have Imam Obaba. He had AIM, African Islamic Mission, Dr. York's older brother. And the toothpaste people needed the website, so they purchased it for him. So now he has theAIM.com. He made his first $1 million from that. You see what I'm saying? So, because if you're a big time toothpaste company, with some little black man over here, Mexican, this little guy here making only what, $10 an hour? I mean, come on. You know how much money we're gonna make from this? Shoot him a little $1 million. He'd be like, whoa. They'd be like, man, that's nothing compared to what we doing. We hate. You know, Heinz ketchup just was bought for like $24 billion. Heinz ketchup. They just bought that. They got bought out for $24 billion. Who would think ketchup be worth $24 billion? This just took place last week. You feel me? So these are things that make you think and go, damn, I need to start putting my ideas several different places. And it don't cost nothing really. The ideas that cost a lot is up here. All you have to do is have a good idea and say, that's a good idea. Let me invest in that. I invest in stars. People say, you invest in stars? What do you mean invest in stars? They need the stars to be named so they can catalog them. If something never takes place with the star, before they can publish what took place, they have to ask permission from the owner of the star. So you can purchase buying stars in the sky. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much of them, they just want to categorize them. And you say purchase stars, the white man don't own no stars. We ain't going that deep. We're just saying there's an opportunity to have something named after you up there, and then it be registered, trademark, and everything. And if something ever happened to it, before they can publish any information about it, they got to get permission from the owner, because it's named after you. You see what I'm saying? It's just crazy. I'm telling you, I'm a beast with this. And they say, so why you move out the neighborhood? Because I got to raise my children back. You know what I'm saying? It's not y'all say, but we all know some crazy ass people out there. You know what I'm saying? And when you raising your children, admits that the Pampers being thrown out the window and people pissing while they walking down the street, you like, yo, I can't have my children around that. I come in because I'm like, this is sports, and we want to draft pick the righteous people. Say, yo, set a higher standard. You know, many of us, I know I was brought up to at least get a high school education. I wasn't told at least own a basketball team. I was told at least see if you could play for the NBA. I wasn't told own the team. So we get taught low expectations. So I said, I don't come to the community and say, man, let's raise some expectations higher. You don't have to settle for less. And we so intelligent, we do things that if people only knew what we do and what we think, they would have made money off it a long time ago. We just lacking a little resource and a little opportunity. But we can make opportunity from a good idea. All you have to do is just stick with it. I'm telling you, if half of us just gave up ideas that we be having, it's so unique that they even got companies now saying, we'll buy your idea. Because they don't really got no real ideas. You know what I'm saying? The creativity comes from when you are restricted and you just want to get out, you start thinking of things. When you're under pressure. When you're not under pressure, it's hard to be creative. When you're under pressure, you be creating stuff. You got for your own entertainment purposes. You be creating stuff. So the knowledge that they're looking for, they're always around. You'd be surprised. You'd be on the train or on the bus, and somebody be like this, looking over your shoulder, trying to read what you're reading and see what you're saying. Because the ideas are amongst the people here that are aspiring for more. But some people lost their zealousness for creativity because they have so much. We're in a real good position here. This makes you creative, man. This gives you drive. That's why I'm always coming back like, yo, this, because you hear so much powerful information from people that live in our communities. They just don't act on it. That's the only thing stopping. Go ahead, my brother.
I was going to say, you know, they selling real estate on Mars.
That's right. That's true.
Like, you know,
And Venus as well.
Yeah.
I got stuff in the 2012, but I got some of my deeds, or my titles, how you would call it, in my books. I made scanned copies and everything. And invest. People say, man, you gonna go up there, you gonna trust them? Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you what, it's messed up that we still don't even own a house. We still in apartments, and these cats are selling acres of moon space now.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, they're at a point where we still over here fighting over a house, and we can even get out of an apartment, and they over there selling acreage on different planets. So we gotta step our real estate game up. It's real. So, property 3, very stable, well-maintained, older neighborhood or industrial and commercial area. Also thriving downtown stores in an active part of town, medium to upper income mixed area. 3.5, for areas that are better than rating number 3's description but don't merit a 4. Also, the property will be very well-maintained, clean and safe. Number 4. Newer suburban homes or area large, expensive older homes or new industrial parks, new office complexes and or research parks or new high-end properties or strip malls. 4.5, vacant land and gated subdivision. 5, gated private residence or individually gated estates. This rating is not ordinarily used for industrial or commercial areas no matter the upscale. Values of this rating must exceed $1 million. So let's go to the next one. So that's a neighborhood evaluation key because you might be doing research and you might just want to be able to put it into a category to help you be able to scale through everything. You want to sift through that information. So here we have like when there's a auction, maybe a tax deed auction, and the tax office may be conducting the sale, or the immediate county government may be conducting the sale. You may want to call about the information, but you don't want to ever sound like I was trying to figure out. You don't want to sound like that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to waste people's time. These people who work for the government in general are normally underpaid anyway, and they normally come with an attitude for good reason. Dealing with so much people that want to talk to them and don't exactly know what they want to talk about. All right, so, and they got to pick up that phone all day, throughout the day, every day of the week, and their job not paying them what they need. So you want to be able to, you want them to say, man, I don't mind helping you because you already got your stuff together, okay? And you want to be taken serious, so you want them to take on that professionalism because they say, man, this sounds like a person who know what they're talking about. Let me take them serious before they report me to somebody. Okay, so here is what you say when you call the county government to inquire about a tax lien or tax deed sale. You know, at these tax deed sales, you get properties for thousands of dollars cheaper. And if you got the status correction and you got your trust, upon purchase of the properties, you can get the properties reduced, even lower. You can nullify the taxes for 3 to as much as 7 years, based on law. Not based on some slick sovereignty stuff on the low, sold in the hood, and you know, people start knocking your door in black coats saying, yo, what's up, we're gonna lock you up. There's not that kind of situation. this is based on law. You can get the taxes nullified for 3 to 7 years if you have your status correction and your trust in place, and based on your property research. You can also get thousands of dollars taken off of the purchase based on the status correction and trust if appropriated the right way. So that's why we tell people, just don't just go to the auction because they're just selling property. Go to the ones where they make subscriptions to that KRS code. Go to the ones that you can use your status correction and your trust in more ways than the conventional. Okay? So, it says, greetings, my name is, you give them your name. Let's say it's Michelle Fuller. Greetings, my name is Michelle Fuller. Who might I ask that I'm speaking to? Then you say, hey, I am from, because you always want to ask them when you're speaking to, because that automatically put them on, okay, this might be recorded here. You know, I want to make sure everything's good. Next one, I am from, and you tell them where you're from, and I would like to know if you can give me some assistance on finding out when will your county be conducting another tax lien tax deed sale. Simple. I would like to know how, if possible, can I have the list of parcels that will be available at the auction sent to me. Next one. Is there a website where I can get general information about the upcoming auctions? Or is calling the county like county I have as my best methodology? Does the county have a financing program available? They have non-qualifying financing programs. Sometimes you can put as much as low as 10% down on what they sell. So they might be selling a property for for $20,000. It might be worth $150,000, and you can put 10% down. So $2,000. And then if you use your status correction and trust, you may only owe $5,000 at the end. Okay, so you want to ask them, because they're not obligated to tell you. You gotta ask. You gotta know what to ask. You gotta know. Do you have any non-qualifying financing programs on behalf of the government? You say that they can't lie to you, but if you say nothing, they don't have to tell you, and they're not really encouraged to tell you either. And again, don't assume because someone works for an agency that they know what's going on in the first place. Plenty people, like policemen, are working and they don't know too much about law. Go ahead, brother.
How do you go about getting the status correction truck?
You'll talk to Sister Almanette.
Okay.
You join the community, you get a caseworker assigned to you. They work with you straight through the purchases of any property. Anytime you gotta do property for the first time around, we'll make sure one of us trained by me is right next to you. So we be accountable for the sale. So if anything go wrong, we say, yo, that's on us. So we be right there straight into the day you purchase. And you get coached through it to make sure that, you know, you don't make no errors with the paperwork. But you have to do the paperwork yourself, but we train you how to do it yourself. So in the future, maybe you could do it for somebody else, or at least you can articulate what was done for you, so people can be responsive to it. Because you may say, I want my friends or my family to also learn this. But if you can't articulate it that good, they're not too sure. And you know what, black folk, did you do it yet? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's just how we are. You know what I'm saying? Who this work for? Is it only his friends that's getting it? You know what I'm saying? This is what people say. You know what I'm saying?
Question.
Go ahead.
Polight, and if you're a property owner, is it complex trying to switch your property that you already own into your trust?
No, it's not. But you have to go through a separate type of process to get it done. It won't be reminiscent to that of the effect of what we talked about earlier on. But it's going to lead to the same conclusion. So you can have a perfected claim, but you'll have to do it a different way. But you're still going to use the status correction and the trust. All right? It depends on who the bank is. Like, for instance, PNC. By law, they're just a storefront with about 127 subsidiaries. We call it a bank. They use the terminology in different places in very funny ways. But we just want a foreclosure settlement for them because we blew up their spot. Because we showed through case law that they are really acting as a storefront based on their paperwork, based on how they created themselves. And they only have about 127 subsidiaries. And you can look it up, PNC, storefront, and you say it's a storefront. And they're taking loans and behaving like a bank and all this stuff. That's not legal. You know what I'm saying? You can't go over here to your deli and have them foreclosing on your property. You know what I'm saying? So it's fraud is big. And you see, we'll think this. They so big, that ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna work and nobody complaining. People gotta complain. And more than one person gotta complain. Let's get a wave of people just upset. Yo, you know what I just found out? Until they prove it wrong. Just prove it wrong and say, yo, these people are coming up with some weird information. Because they'll come out on TV and say, those allegations are not real. If it's not real. But if it's real, they're gonna have to muffle the people that's speaking about it. But we have to make more noise. When we find these things out, we have to respond and we have to attack. We have to go hard. The same way they went hard on you to take something that they didn't officially own themselves. You should go that hard. You putting me through all this stress for what reason? You doing something illegal and you actually stressing me out like I'm doing something wrong to you. If you engage in commerce with me illegally from the very beginning, then there's nothing I can be doing to you that's illegal or wrong. That's just law and common sense. There ain't no way in hell you got me into the agreement illegally. If you found out that the agreement was illegal, most people wouldn't pay anyway if they found out something was wrong the first time. If I'm owing him money for something that it ain't exactly what I thought it was when I first started paying him, then you damn right I ain't paying you no more. And matter of fact, I want my money back. And you know what? While I was giving you money during this whole time, I could have been using that money for something else. I want more money back. That's the mentality you gotta have. It's fair and it's legal. Go ahead.
How long does it take when like somebody buy a property for them to like start selling that property, reselling it to new?
Well, it depends, because if you bought it from repository, it's based on the faith of putting it out there on the market and the way you market it. If you're going to put it on Craigslist, if you already have buyers up front ready for it, if you're going to, there's different ways.
Somebody purchased it already. So they purchased it about, like they signed over like a couple of months ago. You think that it's been flipped a couple of times?
Well, this is the thing. When people say, how long might a property sell? I really need the description of the property, the area, and then it's just an energy behind it all. It wouldn't be right to tell you it was selling this amount of time without even asking what kind of property and where. It wouldn't be right to do that, you know? But what I would say is, when you follow that research to a T, it gives you the highest probability, to my experience and to my knowledge, of it selling. And then there are other opportunities. Like for instance, you may want to turn it into a halfway house. When people come from prison, they come up in there. The government gives you that check, and it comes all the time. They never say I spent it on liquor or anything like that. Or, you know, they have that check. You may want to turn it into a nursing home or old folks home. Because the reason why I say that is because they losing money, so they're not making those homes no more. So what they're doing is encouraging people to open up their homes and turn it into those kind of businesses. So it's actually easier now to turn your house into a shelter, a halfway house, a juvenile facility, or a place for elders. You see, it's easier to do it now, and the government gives you those checks. So rather than trying to flip the property, you may say, you know what, I'm gonna invest in the property, and I'm gonna invest in this paradigm because the money is lucrative. It's a lucrative opportunity, and it's right there for me. So you might want to do it that way.
Say if I was like that, say it was like $700,000, and it was in Maryland. It bought like 2 months ago.
Okay.
And it's a 5-bedroom.
5-bedroom, 700,000 in Maryland. If you had to use the value key, if you had to use the value key, where would you put it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The value key we had it there. 2.5. Do you remember the value key? Graffiti in the area, no graffiti in the area. Do you remember the value key that we just showed?
Yeah, I remember we talked about it.
No, that's the question. And then this is the biggest question. It's not really what the property is worth. It's how much you're selling it for and in what area and who are you pitching it to. You see, it's different things going on out here.
My cousin, he just bought one like that's what I'm asking. I just went over and took a look at it.
Yeah, I want to be honest. So that's why I'm like, is he selling it 20% below his fair market value?
No,
or is it a 7?
He bought it.
He bought it, but you asking how much would he sell it for, right? Or how much can you make off?
No, I'm asking about the note. Like say you said you could flip the note a couple times. Like you said it's going to be transferred one time.
Oh yeah, but you're not flipping the note like that.
I'm talking about somebody else.
Oh.
The person that he
bought it from.
Yeah, the mortgage.
Did he buy it from a company?
No, say I think he bought it from a bank because he's a business.
Okay, good. I'm working with you. You bought it from a bank. Go ahead.
So he probably bought it with somebody, him and his mother and his wife.
Got you.
So they bought it, and I think she got some money. She retired and probably paid that down payment or something like that.
Got you.
Now the note he was talking
it's
about.
It's a mortgage or they gave them a loan?
I think they gave him a mortgage. I ain't too sure. I can ask him about later.
Go ahead.
So I'm saying like, you was talking about the note that he had to be bought. I think you can transfer one time, right?
Yeah,
and then you can transfer it more than one time.
Hypothecation. Rehypothecation is when it's transferred several other times.
Right. I'm just saying that you know, do you think that it might be transferred more than one time?
Oh, that note probably already gone. Because
So
the only reason they have the patience for a $700,000 property for whatever some money got put down on is because they already know they got people out there ready to invest their interest in it. I'll tell you this, the way it is today, there ain't nobody waiting to find out if they can use the note. They already know they can use the note and the person that's going to use it. They already got that in place.
So he can ask for the contract and they probably won't be able to use it. Is that it?
You probably can find a contract. That note is probably out of there. That note probably out of there. You know what I'm saying? But even when we deal with people who have pending mortgages, not foreclosures, in good standing and paying, we say keep paying. But let's ask those questions now. We send a memorandum of law. And a memorandum of law would pretty much identify stipulations from statutes, codes, case laws that confirm the illegality, and then we may pursue them in an opportunity to cure, which is a form of giving you a chance to settle and potential of the reality that we may sue. Okay, so those are different circumstances, those are different ways you can approach that kind of circumstance. You understand what I'm saying?
I figure about in 6 months he can go after that contract and then probably flipped a couple times, or has been flipped a couple of times. I think I missed that one.
The second that thing was sold, they already have people in place. Administratively,
more than one, I'm saying, a couple of times.
I'd say at least one person, probably inside of 3 months, 6 months. Because administratively, it's going to take some time for that thing to travel, that note to flow.
Oh, okay.
But that note is going to flow. It's going to go. All right? That's the way the system's set up right about now. Okay. That's the only reason why they will approve people of loans, particularly in case of subprimes. That's the only reason. I don't know. Your family probably had good credit standing to get into it in the first place.
Yeah,
so it'll probably go through a different stream of illegality. But right now, foreclosed mortgage in itself is illegal because everyone's practicing it the illegal way because no one's complaining about it. I mean, we complain when we losing the property, but we're not complaining about it the right way. Like, even when something goes wrong out here in the world, there's a credible legal approach to which we should argue or complain. But we may put up a YouTube or Facebook page. A brother gets shot 50-something times, and we'll go, they just killed another one of us again. And we'll do this on Facebook and YouTube everywhere and expect change. But that's not the venue to change things. That is the venue to incite the idea of change. But when we use that medium to actually change something, then we may fall short. So what I'm saying is, when it comes to the property situation, the way we approach being angry is not effective. But there is an effective approach towards being angry, all right? Or in light of being angry, we can have an effective approach about it, to which end that we can get some more results or better results, all right? So I'm more than sure. I don't know for a fact. I'm not in that situation. But from what I do know, in the consistency of whatever I see, I haven't seen something that wasn't illegal yet. Because the idea of mortgage is illegal based on the security instrument that they call the Constitution. The idea of it is illegal because of the companies that are in control of it. The idea is illegal because of the stipulation of a conditional interest. The idea is illegal because they're not giving people full disclosure on what is taking place life after you sign the contract. That is illegal. So I haven't seen one that was legal. And until I do, I have no confidence in it no more. And we help fund our own oppression when we engage in those mortgages. Because so much money is to be made that in turn gets reciprocated and represents the funding of guns and drugs in our community. That money gets used for that. Okay? Not all of it, but one can surmise that if you're going to do something illegally to get money, you're going to do something illegal when you spend it. That's just logic. That's how it works. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, we're not going to be righteously spending money after we, like devils made it. It's not going to work like that. So, in that logic, that our recourse has to be something to diffuse that liability. We have to see how we funding our oppression. Because what we can do is say, you know what, then I'm going to stop all this BS straight and I'm going to just own my joint straight off the back. And that's what we're teaching people to do. Just own the property straight off the back. You know why? Because it's impeding on your ability to be spiritual. It's calcifying your spirit because you got 30 years of paying for something physical. on top of your physical phone bill, on top of your physical car note. You know, these are cars, these are phones, these are houses. Something got to give. Let's get rid of that 30-year thing. Because I can't spend 30 years of my material existence funding some other material that at the end of the whole thing, I'm still a tenant, even when I pay it off. That's just insane. And by the time I get to appreciate it, I'm on the way out, according to the lifetime expectancy.
Wait a minute, when you say you're a tenant after you paid it off?
Yeah. On the deed, read it. Tell them read their deed. They're going to be identified as tenancy. Read your deed. You're going to see tenancy. What kind of deed you got? Bargain sales, warranty?
No, I own.
Read the paper. Read the paper that says you own that property. Read it. And look for these key words. Take this DVD and look for some words up in there that get you hot.
So I have to transfer it into another entity or something?
Yes, you set up you get your status correction in your trust. It's a shame that most of us is buying things out here thinking we own it. It's a shame. They guys walking around here like, yo, this is really my property. It's a shame.
A property that is a crown or has in a trust, are they not to be affected by eminent domain?
Not at all.
Okay, so eminent domain cannot affect it.
Unless somebody is imposing their will on you. Not at all. That has to be a construct that's imposed on you, forcibly. It has to be forced on you. But as far as law is concerned, no. That's null and void. All right. So we also have here, where will the auction be held and how does one go about registering? What type of title or property will be issued upon purchase? What form of payment is the most conducive? Is the auction a premium auction, bid down the interest of other format? And then you close respectfully. Reason why all this information is so very important, again, is because of this. If you are the one with the perfected claim, as in the case of the bank, then you are the one that can use this property as leverage, the equity. But how you're going to do this, you're going to retitle the property to your trust. You're going to do everything the bank does, but on the legal side of things, in your own and rerum natura, in your own form of natural existence, in your own confidence in nature. You are going to play the role of the bank. You are going to use the equity of that property, and you're going to use that equity as leverage, and you're going to make your trust out to be something that represents a revolving line of credit by retitling the properties to your sovereign irrevocable private trust, which is protected, or best represented, I should say, in Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. You have the right to private contract. No third-party medium has to come in there and get that information. So, this is an example of property summary. What I'm going to do, I'm going to throw it on the DVD so you can see it and overlay it so you can see it more closely, because I thought I was going to have a projector screen today. So I want to make sure that you can see this information. Because reading through each and every one of them, it's not going to provide the imagery that we need while I'm speaking. So I'm going to speak over it and just give you an example of property summary. Because with the property summary, we have a sketch of the square footage of the property, and we give you a synopsis. Dwelling type is detached with 5 rooms, 1 bathroom. We give a whole synopsis of it. What the equalization ratio is 1.80, the equalization ratio. So that's, 1.80, and that's on a per $1,000 increment, which will be explained. And what this will do, will help you, it will teach you how to investigate the properties and what you're trying to invest in it and how much you're trying to yield from the investment. You need to have all those things in mind. Sometimes we just come up on a good amount of money and we just invest it in some property and hope that it sells. That's not the way we want to do this. We want to have it to a mathematical science so we know exactly what we're looking for. And the main thing we need to do is find a way to get you to buy the property for $500,000, $2,000 when it's worth $80,000, $100,000, $120,000, so you can afford to sell it 40% below its fair market value, where people have no choice but to purchase it. After the research, and when you understand that demographic and what people are interested in, and then you purchase it for a certain amount of money because you use the real estate and tax benefits that come with the status correction of trust, you're in a perfect situation. You understand what I'm saying? So it's putting it all together. Now somebody say, man, but I just paid one of y'all to do it. Could that happen? We say, cool, but still study this information because you can help in the research. Maybe you see something someone else didn't see. Always take the opportunity to educate yourself and anything that you put your money in. always take the opportunity to do it. All right. So that's why you'll hear me say I want to make sure that I ain't saying yes or no to something while giving it thought. I want to make sure I'm being perfectly honest with it. I don't want to tell you yet, like, you know, you just join communities. You say, so will I get this inside of this month or that month? Yeah. Just give me your money. And then now you come back and you say, man, but nothing happened yet. You don't want to live like that no more. You want to make sure that you get the results that you are looking for. All right. So, and then you'll take the pictures of the property, and then here I'll do a audio over this because there's certain things you want to look for in the property. You want to look for bricks on top of the roof on the property. Why? Because when bricks are put on top of a roof, that means someone's trying to stop leaks from coming in. That's just the old-fashioned way to stop a leak. You know what I'm saying? Now, who gets on top of the roof? I don't know. But somebody's going up there, they're putting bricks in strategic places to stop the leaks. So you want to look for stuff like that if you in those property evaluation key 1 through 3. You are definitely looking for bricks on top of the roof. When you get to property evaluation key 4 and up, there's really no bricks on top of roofs. Those properties are in different situations than people that own them. Those 1 through 3s though, they got some bricks on top of those roofs. You need to pay attention to. Okay? You also want to see if it's metal lining in the walls. Okay, if it's brownstone, if it's not brownstone. There's reasons for these things. You want to make sure if there's mold in there, you know, you don't want to just go to Google Earth, which is good, or Zillow. That's real good too for some data. But you want to also go to the property and look and see what's going on. You want to be able to contact the owner. Before I purchase these properties, I call them because I find out who the previous owner is, and I try to see if I can get their sentiment on the property and see what's going on, why you letting it go. If I see that this property has been unattained for 3-4 years, then I know for sure I gotta go. If it's the nature of the situation tells me the expedience of me going over there and check it out. Because if the property has not been attended for 3-4 years in an area that takes in a lot of snow, then I know automatically there's going to be some damages incurred that I don't have to pay for. I may not be able to see it, but I know since this property was not occupied for 4 years, and this place gets snow badly, like New York and Philly, then I already know 4 years of that and no one attending to the property, I ain't got to see a picture. I know what I'm in for. So now I may have to repair this thing a little bit to sell it back. You got to take that into consideration. So you want to ask the right questions that we're not really trained to ask. We're not even trained to do this stuff ourselves in the first place. So these are the things that we would explore as well, because you're going to get it for a cheap price. But I'm so in tune with what I'm doing. I'm like, not only do I want to get it for a cheap price, I want to see if I can limit the work and the money I have to put into it. I'm just trying not to spend nothing and trying to make as much as I can make. I'm not going to be cheap if it's a good investment, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay? And then last but not least, you'll also invest in these properties to pull out the equity. If I can show you how to get property for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and the property worth $100 grand after you invest $2,000 or $3,000, you surely should know what to invest in. Okay? I've invested in subways and North Carolina, you know, Greenville. Why? Because when I got my $80,000 flip, I was able to come off on a deal for a little over $35,000. Does me good. Does me good. You know, now I don't eat everything in subways, but you know, it's a good route when people trying to get some gas on the road. It's one of the best franchises because they help set up things for you. They promote, market for you, even help you employ people. They're one of the more friendlier franchises. Also, the $10 store is a real good franchise, especially for our community. You know, the sisters go in on them $10 spots. You know what I'm saying? They come out looking like superstars. So, you know, them $10 spots is a good franchise, and you can spend like $45,000 on it. So if I can show you how to get a property for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, the very next day from you getting the deed, I can have you go to like a Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo will give you the money the very day, next day. If you bought it 12 noon and the bank's still open, Wells Fargo will give it to you the same day. That's how shady this whole business is. You can buy a property that's worth 80 grand and pay $2,000 for it. So long as they see you got the deed, boom, they'll give you 65, 70% of that $80,000. If you just got a 600 credit score and up, if you even just got pay stubs going back 6 months and a W-2 for 2 years. You got W-2 for 2 years, pay stubs for 6 months, first, last name, banking statement from a different bank aside from them, and you also have an account with them, that combination of information, they'll give you the 80 G's, the 70 grand. You only paid $1,500, $2,000 for the property, but it's worth $80,000. They'll give you $65,000, $70,000 same day you bought the property next day. Now you got 70 grand. Now look, you can't even borrow $500 from a friend. You can't even borrow $50 from a friend. But you put $1,500 up on something that was worth 80 grand and you was able to get $65,000 back. You gotta know how to play the game and flip this money. They'll put it on the card and boom. And the card will work like a credit card with lower interest rates. You gotta know how to go in, man. You gotta know $1,000 because, first of all, let's do it like this. If you own a property that's worth $80,000 with bad credit, in light of your bad credit, it's automatically gonna affect your credit report for the best. Why? I say, yo, you know what? This person owns the whole property in full. They're not a liability. You paid for the whole mortgage. It don't come up, oh, they use their status correction in their trust and they really bought that shit for $1,500. They ain't spent 80 grand. And nobody's doing that. No one's sending the bank that report. All they know is that this person paid for the property in full. That's all they know. Here they got a $100,000 property in full. Paid for completely. That makes you look good. You did that with $1,500. You do it again with another $1,000. You just keep doing it. Then it's like, yo, he owns all these different properties. Now you can even help use it as leverage to get you into a conversation to diffuse the debt. Because now they'll talk to you and say, yo, can we get a percentage of the note so we can do our hypothecation? And I'm serious. You have a good conversation with them. Because it's yours, you own it. So now you can play games. I'm telling you, this is actually true. You can actually play games. And you can start knocking off some of the debt if you can allow them to manipulate it. It's ways out the situation, man. It's ways. You need to be in that conversation and get yourself back in the playing field. Because many of us, once our credit got shot, we felt we got shot. Because there ain't nothing else we can do after that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's go to the next one. We are back. Yeah, so of course you have inequity, debt wealth, or asset wealth. Come on, baby. Go ahead, it's okay. Did black people create white supremacy and kill them with paperwork? Here are the templates. That publication right there, if you're fighting foreclosure, if you're fighting summons, I got the templates right there. It tells you where to put your name, where to put their name, and who to mail it to, their address, and everything. And you knock those things out. It's right there, all the templates. And if you have a question about it, you just call the number in the back, call our office. They give you some assistance, but those templates are right up in there. Only thing I didn't put in there that's going in the next one is the vaccine exemption form, because that's very important to me because parents got to stop being intimidated by the school system when they know that those vaccines have harmful products in it, like dead baby fetuses, formaldehyde, mercury, caterpillar eggs, and the likes. We don't need to give that to our children.
Now, how can I take care of that now if I'm a college student and I'm required to take the vaccines? How can I be able to?
Just connect with Sister Aminette and get our contact. You know, that's stuff. They got a funny way, like, yo, we'll give you this education, but we want to drug you up so you be doing this like 5 years from now. You feel me? Because that's the whole thing, is to pacify the masses. So we won't know 10, 15 years down the line, we've been affected by those vaccines. And this is why it's so difficult for you to break down conscious information to people in your community. Because they already been vaccinated, they're already affected. And the effects come 10, 15 years later. So here it is, you try to say something to make sense to them, it just don't register. But they already been impacted badly based on the diet and the vaccines. So again, I want to thank y'all for the love and the support. It's a long class. I'm long-winded. I thank Black and Nobel for letting me just go in.